Your boat's bottom is an attractive surface for plant and animal life, so you have to keep it clean. But doing it yourself can be exhausting if you don't have the right tools. Hi there, I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast, I'll share the products we use to make this frequent task much easier. Today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Lunatec, makers of the hydration spray bottle, odor-free dishcloth, and a self-cleaning washcloth. Lunatec offers practical gear designed to save water and reduce waste. A water bottle that doubles as a garden hose or a little tank sprayer. A dishcloth that doesn't get stinky. Yes, please, I use them both. Visit lunatecgear.com to learn more and use code BOATGALLEY to save 10% on everything. Lunatec, innovative gear for your outdoor adventures. Okay, let's talk about bottom cleaning. If you're cruising in remote locales, cleaning the bottom yourself may be your only option. In a pinch, you can do it by snorkeling and freediving, but it's absolutely exhausting. Now, one option is to use scuba tanks, either on your back or on deck with a long hose. But then you have to get the tanks refilled. You may not find a dive shop to do so in remote locations, and most boats don't want to devote the space for a dive compressor. If you're a diving fanatic and plan to do a lot of diving, the space for a compressor may be worthwhile. But for the rest of us, a hookah takes up a lot less space and is actually easier to use for bottom cleaning, as there are no tanks to hit against the hull. Never heard of a hookah? Or only heard of the ones you smoke from? Well, a dive hookah is surface-supplied air. Basically, a compressor that's at the surface with a long hose to your regulator. We had a gas-powered hookah on a previous boat and now have an electric one aboard Barefoot Gal. The gas-powered ones come with an inner tube to float the hookah if you want to dive with it. You just tow it with you. We thought this sounded wonderful when we bought it, but found that we greatly preferred the simplicity of snorkeling for a daily activity. We use the hookah almost exclusively for bottom cleaning. Okay, we hadn't planned to buy a hookah now for Barefoot Gal. We thought that since it's a very shallow draft boat, I could keep it clean by freediving when we were in the Bahamas. Well, yes, I could, but an hour of cleaning totally wiped me out. And I'm a strong swimmer and very comfortable freediver. I spent more time going up and down to breathe than I did cleaning. That hour got less than a quarter of our bottom done. So we bought another hookah. It's powered by our Honda 2000 generator. It can't really be used off the boat. Since we already had the Honda generator, it's a much less expensive solution, but it's still not cheap. However, if you're in places where bottom cleaning is expensive or hard to find, it can definitely pay for itself in less than a year. The generator-powered hookah only weighs 29 pounds, and the compressor and hoses can be stored separately, so it's not bad storage-wise. We keep the compressor inside the boat and the hoses in the sail locker. Since the compressor can walk a bit as it runs, we tie a line from it to a handrail so that it can't go overboard. Both of our hookahs have been made by Airline by J-Sink. There's other brands available. You can even find plans to make them yourself on the internet. The Airline hookahs are not exactly the cheapest, but they use Honda compressors which are easy to service, and parts can be found almost anywhere. Airline also has great customer service when we had a question. Now, if you're going to have a hookah, it's important to have a fairly high-quality hookah, as this is literally providing the air you breathe. You cannot use a regular air compressor, as it will put oil in the air, which is very bad for your lungs. And you need to have the proper regulators to bring it to the proper pressure for breathing both at the surface and underwater. Brownies is the other major brand of dive hookah, and they're slightly more expensive than Airline the last time I checked. There are also some 12-volt hookahs, and Airline makes one, but they are really designed for the hookah to have a dedicated battery, not for you to be running it off your house batteries. They're also more expensive than ones powered by a generator. You can get hookahs for 1, 2, 3, or even 4 divers. Generally, the more divers you have, the less depth they can reach. For bottom cleaning, it's really not an issue, as even with 4 divers, most will let you dive at least 25 feet. And believe me, most of us are not going 25 feet deep to clean our bottom. Officially, you need to be scuba certified to use a hookah, even at shallow depths. Probably no one is ever going to check, but it is your life that you're gambling with. And scuba skills are important in case there is ever a problem. We also found that we were much more comfortable and competent snorkelers after being scuba certified too. Okay, the hookah. We got it from a place called Leisure Pro. Base price everywhere is the same, but free shipping and no sales tax for them shipping it to Florida made it a better deal. You can also get them on Amazon and a number of other places. This is a basic hookah for one person, only requires a 2,000 watt generator. You can see the actual models of all of these. There's links in the show notes. For the electrical hookah, you also want a can of what's called Corrosion X and use it every time that you use the hookah to keep from that salt air corroding the parts inside. What happens is the hookah draws in a lot of salty air. So that Corrosion X is really, really important. If you don't have a generator and don't intend to get one, the gas-powered models are good, and they're more powerful if you want to have more divers. Also, the other thing for the gas-powered hookahs, Airline and Brownie both recommend spraying it heavily with Bow Shield to keep the outside parts protected from any splashes and so forth if you are towing it in that inner tube. If you're going to clean the bottom yourself, in addition to your regular snorkel gear, dive weights, and then your hookah or tanks, you're going to need a few other things. It's not necessarily cheap to set yourself up to clean your own bottom, but thinking that you can do it without the gloves, a suit, and hair protection is just kidding yourself. It is a nasty job. You're putting a lot of crud in the water, and you need to protect yourself from that. You want to protect both your hair and particularly your ears. First of all, you need a good pair of gloves so you don't cut yourself on barnacles. I've been using latex-coated work gloves from Home Depot for a couple years. I've been really happy with them. They've held up much better than others that I've tried, and they're less than $5 a pair. I've got links for both men's and women's versions of them in the show notes. You're going to want a couple of scrapers. 1.5 and 3-inch are our favorite sizes, and we go back and forth as to whether we prefer metal or plastic. On some boats, depending on how the curves of your boat go and so forth, you may even find using a 6-inch scraper works well. We also use a flat blade screwdriver to get inside the through holes and dig out all the crap that's there. Next is that you want a wetsuit or a lycra, depending on the water temperature, and you definitely want a hood on it to keep the crud that you're scraping out of your hair and ears. Leisure Pro also has really good, inexpensive lycras. I put links to those in the show notes. And I also sometimes will wear a swim cap in addition to the hood. The first lycra I had a hood built in. The second lycra doesn't. And I choose a really obnoxiously bright color. Current one is hot pink, so that boats can see me if my head pops up. You know, theoretically, they're not going to be coming right up alongside the boat, but I never trust anybody. You also want to have, for the same reason, a dive flag to alert other boaters that you're in the water. In some places, it's actually the law to fly one. It's smart everywhere. We have also found, sort of as an optional item, but a chainmail glove to be really helpful to get soft growth off. I simply rub the bottom with my hand encased in the chainmail glove. I wear the latex-coated glove underneath to keep the nasties off my hand and also to ensure that my hand isn't cut by barnacle bits coming through the chainmail. Chainmail gloves are not cheap, and if I had to give up one piece of gear to save money, this is what I'd give up. I only have one of these, not two, because I'm only using one hand at a time. The other hand's hanging on to something. Whether it makes sense to get the gear and plan to clean the bottom yourself depends on where you're planning to cruise. I want to emphasize that. You also have to be comfortable in the water and be a reasonably strong swimmer. I've cleaned the bottom of both of our boats countless times, and frankly, I'm thrilled when I can hire it out at an affordable rate. But being able to clean it myself means that we can go places and stay longer that we couldn't otherwise. I hope you found this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast to be useful and helpful. Please tell friends about us and be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode.